Alright, so this video is going to be part 1 of our infinite sequence practice. Now, this video is kind of just going to be a chance to get used to the notation that we've been using thus far. So if you already feel pretty confident with it, I would say move on to the next video. Okay, so we have our first problem up on the board here. We want to write out the first 5 terms of the sequence. We have our formula up here, a sub n equals 2 to the n over 2n plus 1. So our first term, okay, we need to just do a sub 1. Okay, a sub 1 means that we're plugging in a 1 for n, right? You can kind of see that 1 just substituted that n. Okay, so we do that, we get 2 to the first power over 2 times 1 plus 1. And that is going to be a 2 on top and a 2 plus 1 on the bottom, that's 3. What about a sub 2? Well, now we're just plugging in that 2, right? That 2 just replaced n. So we're going to be plugging in a 2 for n. So 2 to the, I don't know why I put that in parentheses, 2 squared over 2 times 2 plus 1. Okay? And we know that is just going to be 4 over 5. Next, we have a sub 3. All right? You can kind of start to catch on here what we're doing. 2 to the third power over 2 times 3 plus 1. Okay, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 2 to the third, that's going to be, it's just going to be 8 over 7. Okay, and we can, you can kind of start to do the rest in your head here, okay? So, starting off, like I said, we had 2/3, then we went to 4/5. Remember, this is a comma-separated list, okay? For our third term, we had 8 over 7. For our fourth term, well, we're going to have a 2 to the fourth over 2 times 4 plus 1. Denominator is going to be 9, and the numerator, well, that's 2 to the fourth, that's going to be 16. So we're going to get a 16 over 9. And lastly, I mean, you can kind of already start to see just the progression here. Okay, our fifth term, that's just going to be 32 on top. And this has been going up by 2 every time, so this is going to be 11. All right, and there are your first 5 terms for that sequence. Now, what about this sequence right here? We have a sub n equals -1 to the n minus 1 over 3 to the n. Okay, well, first off, we just need to start off with a sub 1, all right? We need to start off with a sub 1. We'll get our curly bracket going right there. So a sub 1 is going to equal, well, we have a -1 to the 1 minus 1 over 3 to the first power. Okay, well, that just becomes a -1 to the 0 over 3. And, well, if we have this to the 0, well, anything to the 0 power is just 1. So we're going to get a 1/3. Okay, so we get a 1/3 that we can put up here. For our second term, well, our second term is going to be a sub 2, and that's going to have, it's going to be -1 to the 2 minus 1 over 3 squared. Okay, and, well, that gives us a -1 to the first power over 9, which, of course, you know, we know that that's just going to be negative. So we get a -1/9. Okay, if you saw the last video, hopefully you did, that's how you end up with this alternating negative sign, okay, with this -1 to the n minus 1. All right, it's pretty obvious here what's going to happen for the rest of these terms, so you can kind of start to get the hang of things and start just writing them out yourself. We're going to get a 1 over 27, a -1 over 81, and a 1 over 243. All right, so yeah, nothing, you know, nothing too hard right here. You just got to plug in for your first term, you plug in 1 for n. For your second term, you plug in 2 for n, so on and so forth. So we have our next problem up on the board. We have a sub 1 equals 2. Okay, so we already have our first term here. And then we have a sub n plus 1 equals a sub n over 1 plus a sub n. And you might be, you know, it might be a little hard to wrap your head around what's going on here at first. But how you end up getting these terms is using this a sub 1. Okay, so you start off, I'll write our bracket over here. Didn't leave myself enough room. But for a sub 1, we know that's 2. So if we plug in a 1 for n here, that's going to be 1 plus 1, and that gives us our second term. Okay, so a sub 2. Now remember, this isn't going to be a sub 2 because we plugged in a 1 for n. So we get that a sub 1 over 1 plus a sub 1. Okay, these are another type of formula that you might see. Okay, and when you do that, when you plug in, you just get 2 over 1 plus 2, which is 2 over 3. Okay, and that just goes on and on. So we get, for a sub 3, okay, we plug in a 2 here. We plug in a 2 here to get 2 plus 1, and that gives us a sub 3. Okay, so now we have an a sub 3, but remember, we plugged in a 2 here. We plugged in a 2 for n. That means that there's going to be a 2 for that n and a 2 for that n. So we're going to get a sub 2 over 1 plus a sub 2. Okay, that means we're going to get a 2/3 on top and a 1 plus 2/3, that's going to be 5/3 on the bottom, which this just simplifies down to 2/5. We'll do another one here, a sub 4, that's going to be a sub 3 over 1 plus a sub 3, and that's just going to be 2/5 over 1 plus a sub 3. A sub 3, we said it was 2/5, so 1 plus 2/5, that's 7/5, which this slims down to 2 over 7. Okay, you can kind of see what's happening here. Our fifth term, unsurprisingly, is going to be 2 over 9, okay? So we get, remember, our first term is 2. Don't start off with 2/3, okay, because that's the second term. You get 2 comma 2/3 comma 2/5 comma 2/7, and lastly 2/9. So if you weren't feeling too good on some of this notation that we're using, hopefully now it seems a little more clear. All right, and that's going to do it for this video.
So if this video helped you, make sure to leave a like and subscribe by clicking my icon in the top left. You can also view the playlist for sequences and series, the explanation video for sequences, and the next video in the series. Lastly, if these videos are really helping you and you would like to consider supporting me, I have my Patreon linked in the description down below, along with some other pretty cool links that you should definitely check out. See you soon.